Alrighty, well, I'm going to go ahead and give everybody a trigger warning on this one. Remember the last time we covered Lily Cade? Or Lily, I don't know how to... If there's a different way to say your name, let me know in the comment section below, but I quite frankly don't care. Because we need to cover more of their stuff. The last time we covered her, she literally called for a genocide of trans people. But there's some updates on this that I think are prudent to go over, and there's some more stuff in here that needs to be gone over. So if you are not able to stomach stuff like that, then by all means, go ahead and use this as an opportunity to hop out of the chat or hop out of the video if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're wondering why my energy is so low, it's because I'm tackling this topic directly after the call for an uprising one, which, you know, there's only so many ways you can handle somebody threatening you and your family before feeling kind of weird. But anyways, fan art section first, because we need that little bit of dopamine, that little bit of brain bleach. This one is from Ivana Dragmeyer, and it is Get Spooky. And it is another wonderful showcase of their artwork. They have a very, very good style. I very much like it. They're also the ones who did the Marjorie Taylor Greene Attack on Titan, Smiling Titan fan art as well. So, yeah. Stuff that is just flat out awesome. But with that said, if you want your fan art to be shown in a future video, just drop it in the fan art section of the Discord. I, however, need to continue with this, for better or worse. So, let's go ahead and roll the intro. Alright. So, Lily Cade has been banned from Twitter, from what I understand. Now, her wife, on the other hand, has not been banned from Twitter. So, we have, and I'm going to wait for the follow thing to go the fuck away so that we can actually read it, because it's just there. There we go. Said, my wife's painfully obvious manic episode has broken, and she's safe now. Not that any of you monsters give a fuck. Your wife called for genocide. And we're the monsters? Your wife called for the wiping out of a minority group. And we are the monsters. So, people in the comments here have noted, bipolar disorder's funny, isn't it? When I get manic, I talk too much and overspend on gear for homeless people. When your wife gets manic, she uses a massive platform to call women to be gang raped and murdered by mobs. Gee, isn't it interesting how different people can cope with it? People pointing out that, no. Let's go ahead and talk about this, okay? Your mental health is important. No matter who you are, your mental health is important, but it is not an excuse for abuse. It never has been, and it never will be. I have depression and anxiety and probably a host of other undiagnosed things, and I have said things during episodes to people, and I have had to have very, very massive apologies to them afterwards. Whether I was in an episode or anything like that, it doesn't matter. When you start hurting other people, it is not ableistic to point out that that is not okay. Your actions always have some form of consequence. When you have an episode, if that episode leads to you calling for the wiping out of a minority group, the episode is not an excuse. It is not a shield. It is not a defense. And when you pretend that it is, all you do is further stigmatize mental illness. Because now you have created a scenario where other people with similar mental illnesses to your own can be viewed as other potential callers of genocide, because that's just what happens in an episode, right? Except it's not. But when you get on a large platform and then try to blame your illness for you calling for the wiping out of a minority group, you create a world that is harder for everyone else suffering from the same mental illness. Every fucking one. Now, Lily Cade's website was taken down. It's still down. But I was handed, very thankfully. I also should point out credit to Demon Mama for pointing out this particular thing. Because I didn't know this had happened until they pointed it out. So thank you, Demon Mama. But another user, who I will not name, found archives of their website, of Lily Cade's website. Now, here's the thing. These could not be found on the Wayback Machine. These had to be found on a different archiving website because apparently the Wayback Machine wasn't being used for this, for whatever reason. Apparently there were issues with links. But just remember that you know the flavor of what we are talking about. If you're here for this. If you're not, then go ahead, hop out, go watch another video. It doesn't even have to be from me. Go do anything else, because this is going to be triggering content. There is no way around it. There are no ifs, ands, or buts, and hopefully I have prefaced this enough. Let's go. The title reads, "To the pussified men of America, if they are brave enough to look." Cool. Well, as somebody who turned myself into a literal cat girl on the internet, I suppose I am a pussified man of America in the most literal sense. So let's go ahead and take a look, shall we? It reads, "I have no respect for trans women. And I have no respect for a culture that is so afraid of the consequences of upsetting them that it is willing to sacrifice its most vulnerable upon the altar of their delusions. A man in a dress is still a man. A man is the male of the race. The male is the one who produces sperm." All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the areas in which you're wrong. So, in a very real sense, if you're talking the male of the race, you're probably talking about sex. If you're saying man, we're not talking about sex anymore, we're talking about gender. Trans women are not just men in dresses. They are women, every much as you. Because what boils you down to being a woman is not your gametes, it is not your chromosomes, it is not your genitalia. Being a woman is part of your lived experience. It is you, your identity, your person. It is not what's in between your legs. You want to talk about the most vulnerable upon the altar of their delusions? Listen here, Lily. Women are vulnerable in America, yes. We live in a patriarchal society, I get it. Trans women also are victimized in society. That same society that victimizes you. To deny their experiences is to open the door for people to deny yours. If you are going to deny the experience of other marginalized people, why should people give a flying shit about your experiences? After all, what are you? And why should we care? But continuing on. She goes on to say that a man is producing from his body that sperm by his own hand, while imagining himself as whatever it is that he, as a man, understands a woman to be, and becoming so addicted to this vile act that he constructs from his own body a funhouse mirror effigy of the thing that I am inescapably, and he will never be, is not mentally well. So he's saying that trans women just masturbate to themselves. That's it. No. That's not a phrasing thing, Featherboa. This is literally saying trans women masturbate to themselves. It's exactly what it is. Yeah, it's autogonophilia. Continuing on, it says, the treatment for this mental unwellness cannot be insisting that the entire world pretend to believe this man's delusion until your children actually do. Pretending to believe is making your children crazy. So you and the whole of medical institutions disagree on that, Lily, but it's okay to be wrong. You just need to admit that when you're wrong, that you're wrong, instead of resorting to, talking about genociding a population. But let's continue.
Tremendo!
Xanders, thank you for the raid. Trigger warning, we are talking about Lilycade still. So, yeah, just fair warning. Reading further into her blog, the deep, dark heart of every trans woman whispers, you're not a woman. You'll never be a woman. This is a deeper truth, the blood truth, the bone truth, the millions of years of evolution before the dawn of symbolic thought truth. I prefer veterinary science to the farce we call modern medicine. A man who spends all his days thrusting his arm up the assholes of cattle needs waste no further time on bullshit. A castrated dog is not a bitch. A bitch given steroid injections is not a dog, even if you cut all 10 of her tits off. This is graphic as shit.
Never.
And yeah, no, she's literally saying that she thinks that veterinary science is more robust than fucking modern medicine. Because modern medicine, she accepts here that modern medicine does not agree with her assessment of trans people. And yet, she then goes into this rage. How long does this article go for is the question. Because it's not the only one we're covering. What kind of inane rambling... What kind of inane rambling do you have to be fucking doing? What kind? We're not going to read the entirety of the article. Because again, it goes on for fucking ever. She goes on to say, I'm not going to say the word here, but she says she doesn't mind them. She knows many of them. Hundreds in passing. She's had affection for some of them. And they sure as fuck had respect. They were whores and they wanted to be whores and they didn't care what you thought about it. Some of them are dead now. Juliet, a 7, perhaps among her people, looked enough like a female 5 that... Why does she keep saying the fucking word? She didn't care if one of them finished her. It felt so good to almost die. Death itself feels like nothing. Juliet dared the universe like I did to stop her. She was like I was, an acolyte of the shadow, a willing sacrifice. We were sisters, were we not? What the fuck is this RPG LARPing bullshit? What the actual fuck is that? This is the most crazed, inane shit. She's also dabbling in internalized misogyny. Yeah, that. Yeah, that's almost a snuff fanfic. Oh my god, continuing on. I know what it is to surrender myself to a sexual persona so deeply that it superseded love, family, community, my own dignity, and the dignity of others. And truth. I was brave and stunning too once, was I not? Have you forgotten? You lauded me, you paid me, and you followed me into hell. Masturbation is spiritual weakness. Lily Kay didn't masturbate, but she helped you do it. She helped you ruin yourself. She trained your daughters to be whores. She trained your sons to be the prey of whores. She had no shame in any of it. She thought it was awesome. She moved through the world like she owned it, and everybody treated her as if it were true. This is narcissistic shit. She's speaking about herself in the third person as if she's this goddamn pariah. People read this shit? What? Oh my god, this gets worse. Okay, so it reads here, I knew where the line was until I didn't. The women knew. They saw in my eyes that I had gone to the dark side. They saw my weakness, and they slit my throat. They were whores, remember? They knew the shadow themselves. When a girl said no, I stopped. When a woman spoke of trauma, I believed her. When I was called out, I stood down and took it. Women had no more need of Lily Cade. It is not to women that I direct these words, but to men. If a rapist is someone who is accused of public sexual misconduct, then I am a rapist. So too are 3 of your last 4 presidents. The men who sit in your halls of power. The men who make judgments over your laws. So are all of your heroes, and you know it, and you don't care. This is... I think I'm done with this one. I think we know basically... Wait. Yeah, no, we don't need to read any more of these inane ramblings, because this isn't the only blog she has that has been pulled out of the deep, as it were. From another archive that's called Dead Whores Tell No Lies. This one is a little shorter. Written by Lily Cade, because apparently she very, very, ever so desperately needs to continue telling people that she is herself in the third person. Lily Cade intends this to be read by men and those women far enough up the food chain to speak naturally in English and not newspeak. Those whose balls have dropped at least far enough to accept the obvious truth that trans women are men with a mental illness, rather than twisting and stretching and pissing on and stomping into the ground the word woman and everything to do with everything it means to be a woman, so as to include the vile, horrifying effigy of sexy that these evil satanic men have in their minds. Viewing through the funhouse mirror of their mutilated male bodies. Do I need to continue? Do I have to continue here? It's transphobia, it's sexism, it's literally, this reads like what a 12-year-old thinks a badass sounds like. You know the cringiest villain you ever wrote when you were 13? Lily Cade is that villain actually, in the flesh. It then goes on to fucking... Holy shit, it even gets worse! There's racism! Just one paragraph, and then we're done. You did this, and you should be ashamed of yourselves for allowing these people to torture and humiliate your daughters, your sons, thousands of little children in open view of the public. If the Arabs did 3% of what trans women have done to your people, you would bomb them into the Stone Age. If the trans women took prettier girls, maybe you'd care. So the women that trans women date are all ugly? What? They will take all of your girls and break them, turn them inside out, cut their tits off, and waste their creative energy on masturbatory delusion, and punish them sadistically for being the woman they will never be. As many of your girls as they can get to, and break your language too, unless you have the balls to stand up to them. They are reaping the bodies and souls of 20% of the young women born in upscale suburbs now. This vile cancer is infecting the whole Western world. Do you want to let this go another cycle? Another generation? How many more children are you willing to sacrifice because you don't have the balls to speak truth to power? Trans women are men. And like I said, it just keeps going. It just keeps going. It just keeps going. And it goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And there are so many of these on her website apparently, and it just keeps fucking going. And it won't fucking stop. And it just keeps fucking going. Remember, I'm still scrolling my wheel. It just keeps going. It just keeps fucking going. It won't stop fucking going. Remember, my wife's painfully obvious manic episode has broken, and she's safe now. Not that any of you monsters give a fuck. Ah yes, we are the monsters. You are married to a supervillain. You are married to a deranged supervillain who can do nothing but madly cackle about genociding a minority group. If this is... I stress this. When you use this goddamn flimsy fucking defense, all you are doing is stigmatizing mental illness for more people out there. Because now... there are people who are going to think that if you happen to be bipolar, you're going to be another fucking supervillain somewhere. And I just don't get it. And I'm sure somebody probably did redeems at some point during this, but I'm not on this. Not on this. Cool, you guys, only Lilith did, and that was before the video started. I made a point to say in the last episode that I covered where Lily Cade was concerned, where I found just snippets from her blog and I was reading those, I made a point to say that if I found that these had been faked, that these were not the actual words of Lily, then I would make an addendum to that video. Instead, I have found that it gets worse. That this is a person who projects so frequently about masturbation, and yet the only thing they can do when they write a blog is exactly that. Except they're shitting on a minority group, whilst defending themselves by being part of one. This is disgusting behavior, and this is not a person who should have a platform. I'm sorry. Your website got taken down? Tough shit. Your Twitter got knocked out? Tough shit. Oh, but the BBC platformed you. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I gotta throw this back off to you guys. I do. I am doing that to it. Just encouraging debate my asshole. Insert end of video tagline here. Hey, thank you so much for watching this video. It really means a lot to me. If you want access to behind-the-scenes content for the channel, please consider checking out my Patreon. I do weekly vlogs over there, where I give real-life updates to what's going on behind the scenes on the channel, stuff that you don't really get over here, and even on Twitch. Patreon also helps the channel's stability a whole lot. Without Patreon, I wouldn't be able to do this at all. Especially with the kind of content that I do, neither YouTube nor Twitch are the most stable sources of income. If you are a $20 and up patron, then you will be featured on the ending slides as shown in the beginning of the end credits. If you want to catch the streams where all this content comes from, then consider heading over to Twitch and following. And if you want to continue watching over here on YouTube, maybe consider clicking one of the end screen videos. And once again, I want to thank you so much for spending your time with me over on my channel. I wouldn't be able to do literally anything that I'm doing over here on YouTube without each and every one of you. So, thank you.